Hi. Time to go over some stuff from the first week of May 2026, give or take a day. All right, first up, we got purchases. I bit the bullet and I got the box set Danza Macabre, Volume 2, the Italian Gothic collection. And this is 3 classic films and 1 landmark miniseries, rediscovered, restored, and reclaimed. This contains Castle of Blood, Jekyll, They Have Changed Their Face, and The Devil's Lover. 8-disc set, let's see here. From Severin, one of my favorite boutique labels. It says here, in this second collection of Italian Gothic shockers, you're invited to grab your candelabra and enter cobweb-shrouded worlds of violence, madness, and sexual deviance that remains unmatched in genre history. Gothic goddess Barbara Steele stars in Antonio Margheriti's certified masterpiece, Castle of Blood, and its Italian version, Danza Macabre, which is where they got the title of the sets. Hey, cool. Both restored and scanned in 4K and presented in UHD for the first time ever. Jekyll is 1969's award-winning 4-part Rai TV, R-A-I, Rai TV, Sceneggiati, from writer-director-star Giorgio Albertazzi, that contemporizes the classic tale of man's darkest impulses. Writer-director Corrado Farina reinvents the Dracula legend as a modern-day capitalist conspiracy with his startling and long out-of-print 1971 debut, They Have Changed Their Face. And a sizzling Rosabella Neri is seduced by Satan himself in 1972's The Devil's Lover. Finally available restored and uncut. All 4 titles are now presented in their North American premieres, newly remastered from the best available elements with over 13 collective hours of special features. So, I know what I'm going to be doing. That is good. So, the second, there's like, they're up to 4, so I got my second. Number 3 is probably going to be added at some point. It was pretty pricey, but like I said, I bit the bullet. I went and sold a bunch of stuff at Half Price Books. I don't usually keep a lot of like contemporary stuff. I like to keep the older, moldier books, or just the stuff I really like, you know. But you know, I exchange it and I sell stuff and I buy stuff. And I found this book while going perusing the horror section, and it was Vampirella, Blood Invasion by Nancy A. Collins. And, I mean, you know, this one. Vampires from outer space invade Earth to feast on the blood of the living, which actually sounds like it could have been a ad copy for a film released in the 1950s or 60s. Or even the 70s. Let's see. Years ago, Draculon, a planet of living vampires where it rains blood instead of water, was faced with a terrible drought. So they sent space scouts out into the cosmos to search for a new home, one where blood was plentiful. The bravest of these volunteers was the beautiful and bold Vampirella, who found herself marooned on a strange new world, one called Earth. Unable to return to her home, Vampirella sets about making a new life for herself on a planet where all other vampires are undead creatures born of evil. Over the years, she becomes famous as a monster hunter and defender of the weak and powerless. She even finds friendship and, for a time, love. But one day, the skies of Earth fill with spaceships as Vampirella's people, led by General Orlok, finally arrive on the only other planet in the universe where blood flows as freely as it did on Dracula. Vampirella is, at first, delighted to be reunited with her long-lost love, Tristan, and eager to help her people make a new beginning on her adopted homeworld. But when she rebels against General Orlok's dark plans, Vampirella is branded a traitor and made a political prisoner until she escapes with the help of her sworn enemy, Count Dracula. Together with the werewolf Pantha, Vampirella must fight alongside an unholy army comprised of witches, the living dead, and Dr. Frankenstein and his patchwork creations, in order to save not just the human race, but the Earth itself. This could be quite possibly the greatest novel ever written. I don't know, but I'm going to read it, man. This is it's Vampirella, and I'm reading Vampirella. In fact, I think it was Vampirella number 23 where they actually introduced Tristan. So I think the alterations in the Vampirella mythology that this book is going to be touching on or exploring are coming up in the original Warren magazine run. There could also be stuff from like the Dynamite, because this is Dynamite, from like the more contemporaneous comics that were being published or have been published or are more contemporaneous or modern age comics. Also, I think General Orlok, although I have not seen the Jim Wynorski movie Vampirella that starred Talia Soto. I think Roger Daltrey played General Orlok in the Vampirella movie that came out in the 90s. Maybe not. I don't know. But back to the subject du jour. Looking forward to that. I also added a vinyl to my collection, which it's the box set. This is the Edgar Allan Poe song book, which contains 4 albums, with Basil Rathbone reading a whole lot of Edgar Allan Poe stories and poems, and the 4th record has Vincent Price reading The Gold Bug. And this is just I've already listened to the first record, which has on the first side The Raven, Annabelle Lee, El Dorado, The Mask of the Red Death, and 2. And also on side B, you have Alone, The City and the Sea, and The Black Cat. Record 2 has The Cask of Amontillado and The Facts in the Case of M. Valdemar on side A. B side is The Pit and Pendulum. Record 3 is side A has The Telltale Heart, The Haunted Palace, and The Bells. And side B has The Fall of the House of Usher. And record 4 is, of course, the aforementioned Gold Bug, which is a 2-sider. And that's a great story if you haven't read it. Although if you're watching this channel, you probably have read it. But I like to put up snippets of the stuff now. So at first I thought I'd do The Raven, but that's really long. And ultimately I opted for Annabelle Lee because it also had a nice little appearance in and use in Clint Eastwood's first movie, Play Misty for Me. And so here we have a little snippet of these from this album. Basil Rathbone reading the poem Annabelle Lee by Edgar Allan Poe.
It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabelle Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabelle Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabelle Lee, so that our high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know in this kingdom by the sea. But the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabelle. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we. And neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabelle. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabelle. And the stars never rise but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabelle. And so all the night tide I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in the sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea.
All right. Reading-wise, we're going to go back to Vampirella. The last issue I read was prior to this was Vampirella number 23, which I remember as being really, really good. But this time around, I read Vampirella number 24 in the Archive Volume 4. And did I mention that Vampirella number 23 was really good? This one was... you can't knock it out of the park every time. It's just not possible. The first story was, of course, the continuation of the Vampirella serial, and it's a story called Into the Inferno, and it's really light on action. In fact, it's basically Pendragon's backstory, and the entire story can be summed up as, I made a mistake, so you have to suffer for it. And I was like, most of these characters, I was like, oh my God, cry me a river, build me a bridge, and get the F over it. But yeah, this was not, but it ends on a cliffhanger, because again, it's a serial. And I'm like, okay, I'm really interested to see what happens next. So there's that. Middle Am is very aptly titled because mid is a very good description of the story. It's a short that is short on ideas and story. I was like, yeah, it ended well. I was like, yeah, this was an idea that just was not explored in any, or a concept that wasn't explored in any way that was satisfying. Story 3 was Homo Superior, which was a pretty good science fiction story in the vein of like, I like The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing, or Who Goes There, and in that it goes, a blind test reveals that there is an immortal living amongst a group of research scientists, and the bodies are quick to start piling up after that. It was silly fun, and it introduced this like arrogant investigator, this sorcerer of mystery. Didn't make a note of the name, but I was like, if he shows up again, I would totally read another story. And this one, I think, was probably, I had the most fun with this one. It was a lot of, but the next one I thought was probably, might get my choice for the best story in the issue. It was called The Choice. And it's basically about a man that is a werewolf. And the story is his wife learning that he is a werewolf, sneaking off and killing people on the night of the full moon. When this when this occurs, decisions are made and shenanigans ensue, and it's a nice, tragic tale, steeped in gothic lore and just, it's like a universal. No, not really. It's more like a Hammer horror, Hammer gothic. I could see Terrence Fisher making this as a movie. Also, the last story was one called Changes, and it basically has a man returning home from work to find that his wife has been murdered. So, changes are in store for all involved. This was it was a science fiction story that just got weirder and weirder and weirder until the very end, and it asked some intriguing questions that but did not answer them. It left it up to the reader to kind of figure out all of this, and that's fine. And it was an interesting close to the issue. Yeah, it was a mixed bag, but not the best, not the worst, but yeah, it was a mid issue. The short story I read this week was from the Weird Women anthology, and it was An Itinerant House by Emma Frances Dawson. And this was a very disjointed weird tale, intentionally so, about a house that, while it may not be haunted, it is definitely cursed. And I found it to be a unique and wonderful tale in its own weird way, and bonus points for being set in San Francisco. I'm always a sucker for stories set in San Francisco. The only other reading I did was the novelization of The Vault of Horror by Jack Olick, and because it was only 122 pages and a collection of adaptations of short vignettes or short stories from comics, I decided it applied to Horror Mayhem, the book event for May that the Bookish Bryants created in memory of Scott Bryant. So I did that. That was a lot of work. It was like writing a term paper for a class, but I enjoyed the heck out of it, and will probably be returning to this kind of material in the future. But yeah, that was a welcome visit to EC Horror and Amicus Production goodness. And also I started reading Giallo Argento, which is a rather, which is the fourth and last book I bought at the Profondo Rosso store in our most recent visit to Rome, Italy. And it's just, as it says, it's just basically about Dario Argento and his movies. Pretty, it's only like 180 pages, lots of pictures. I'm on the Profondo Rosso chapter, but it was interesting to read about the little-known movie, The 5 Days of Milan, that Argento made, and why he made it, how he made it. And I do have the Blu-ray from Severin, but I have yet to watch it. And so, having read that and having a little context, because period pieces and Dario Argento don't really mix, and it's a political satire about a very, very Italian political satire, and wasn't that considered that big of a success at the time. I've always been kind of hesitant to. There are other Argento movies in my collection that I would pick up and watch for it, but having now read this and understanding what I'm in for, I might just unwrap that Blu-ray and give it a watch. No time like the present, I guess. Not much in terms of trail camera or travel, or even on the puzzle front. But I did go see 2 movies over the weekend. Actually, both on the same day. I caught a matinee of Daniel McCarthy's new movie, Hokum, which stars Adam Scott. And it is a film about an American writer struggling to end a book that he is working on. And so, for uh, reasons, he goes to Ireland, to the hotel where his parents spent their honeymoon. And it was evidently a joyous, happy occasion for them before tragedy struck the family. And he is there to scatter their ashes, and um, a lot of shenanigans ensue. The only other film from McCarthy I've seen, it was his debut, which was Caveat, which was just as atmospheric and just as scary and just as creepy as Hokum. And I saw a lot of structural similarities between the films. But yeah, when I saw this, I loved it. It's creepy, it's scary, and it does that trick of allowing the viewer to think, okay, was it real or was it not? It very, very it could go both ways. And I also, on a completely unrelated note, there was a big dust up about some interaction between a reader and an author at BookCon, and perceived rudeness and interaction. And honestly, if you want to see a rude writer, watch this movie. Adam Scott, for a majority of the runtime, is the most miserable and unpleasant of people, but he has reasons. And the film offers a wonderful catharsis and is the kind of like haunted, cursed location story I I love. It's just, yeah, this is 100% my vibe, and I recommend it unreservedly. The other film we watched was Michael, which was a biopic, or a kind of biopic of Michael Jackson, but it's less a biopic of Michael Jackson and more of a origin story of his persona, and how he is remembered and perceived um, the uh, by the public, and it's basically how he comes out of the shadow of his father and the Jackson Five. And I thought it was interesting because I think back in the '90s there was a mini series that was made about the Jacksons, um, and the story here is identical to that. It doesn't really cover any. I mean, this biopic didn't tell me anything I didn't already know, and it basically just recreates a lot of iconic early Michael Jackson stuff, and it ends around the time that he really starts his solo career, and the album Bad comes out. So it kind of like when he's like at the height of his, or he's starting a new chapter of his life, which, as everybody who knows, was not a um, particularly happy or pleasant chapter. But I felt the film was just kind of like it was. When we were leaving, we saw it for the music, and we saw it for like the, you know, you know, uh, well, it's for the music. And as we were walking out, Tanya asked me what I thought. And I said, well, it was fun, but I've walked through puddles that were deeper than this movie. I think there was also legal issues that kept them from discussing other aspects, but the last half of the movie with, where Michael Jackson and his persona is given almost a messianic presentation of this whole, like, it's like, okay, it's a little much. I mean, the dude was way talented, but this is this is a little much. Uh, but there was this. There was a scene in the hospital. I don't know if it was when he was in a children's cancer ward visiting kids there, or if he was in the burn ward talking to one of the kids there. But the way that the dialogue and the way it was just like I just remembered this scene from like the first episode of Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, where Marenghi's character goes in and talks to a kid in this room, and it's the and I was just like, oh my god, did Garth Marenghi write this scene? But yeah, it was okay. I mean, I've seen the MJ musical. I've seen the MJ show that Cirque du Soleil puts on in uh, um, Las Vegas, and this is just par for the course. You're not going to get anything challenging. You're not going to get anything that upsets you, and you get a lot of recreations of iconic Jackson moments. And I did think it was hilarious on a closer that they do Thriller, of course, and they recreate the iconic dance scene and everything. And in a really awesome moment, um, Michael calls cut and actually directs the music video, and the assistant goes over to the director, who is not identified and kept obscured, and just allows Michael to do whatever he wants. I don't know if John Landis, who directed the Thriller music video, would appreciate that, but that's the kind of thing where it's just like, yeah, he's in charge, and yeah. So that was the other movie, Michael. Thriller, Thriller. All right. Well, since I'm back in 1984, might as well jump into the Wayback Machine. And so everybody get in, buckle up. Let's go through a week of newspaper ads clipped from the work week of the first week of May 2026, which would have been Monday, May 4th through Friday, May 8th. And off we go. Our first stop is May 4th, 1965. And the Amicus Anthology. We're back to Amicus again. Dr. Terror's House of Horrors starts tomorrow. While Amicus would produce a great many more, and quite a few better anthology films, Dr. Terror's House of Horrors was the company's first such offering, and is a nostalgic favorite of mine. It is one of those movies that I just remember as growing up watching. It was like, and at a time when the proliferation of English and European genre films showing on the various late shows and syndication stations and everything made it seem as if Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing had starred in every single horror movie made between 1957 and 1977. This one even had Donald Sutherland in it, which was cool. And I spotted character actor Michael Goff as an artist that gives Christopher Lee a hand. My favorite segment growing up was the Creeping Vine, because it had a monster plant, and that just seemed so weird and cool to me, and I really liked it. That segment also features Bernard Lee, the actor who is probably best known to people for playing M in the early James Bond movies. He played M from the very first Bond film, Dr. No, through every Bond film made right to Moonraker, which was his final appearance in the role. He passed in 1979, I believe. As an adult, and having watched the movie again and have it on, like, I got the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray UHD release. I think my favorite segment just might be Werewolf, maybe, but I do reserve the right to change my mind at any time, which I will. The distributor also looks to have dusted off the 1959 Hammer offering, which also featured Christopher Lee because he was in every horror movie made between 1957 and 1977. The Man Who Could Cheat Death to keep Dr. Terror company while touring with his diabolical deck of terrifying tarot cards. All right, so we're going to zip back some 45 years to May 4th, 1920. And here we have an ad for The Test of Donald Norton by Robert E. Pinkerton, a novel that promises romance and high adventure, flaming love and daring courage, unswerving fidelity to a great tradition, zealous devotion to a glorious ideal, the clash of primitive passions set in the snow-swept barrens of the North Woods. Okay, but what the heck is the book about? Oof. Shooting forward 56 years to May 5th, 1976, and the documentary In Search of Dracula starts today. This ad, which actually reminds me, because it's like a bat that's obviously been inverted because it's like hanging. Reminds me of like the video that people made where they take Bauhaus and the bats are like going. It's like the world's coolest goth club. But this was one of a plethora of paranormal themed documentaries that carpet bombed theaters and drive-ins throughout the 70s. There were Bigfoots, UFOs, ghosts, Bermuda Triangle, everything. Into the World, Lost Arks. Yeah, it was just great. The big selling point here is being the inclusion of, yet again, Christopher Lee, because he was in everything from 1957 to 1977. And who was also quite vocal with his frustrations as being unable to perform the character of Dracula as had been written and envisioned by Bram Stoker in the book. This documentary gave him the chance to portray the historical figure and Dracula inspiration, Vlad III, also known as Vlad Tepes or Vlad the Impaler. We're going to shoot forward 13 years to May 5th, 1983, and the schlocky, sleazy, revenge actioner Vigilante, directed by William Lustig, is starting tomorrow. This was Lustig's dirty and gritty follow-up to his dirtier and grittier debut, Maniac. I did see it on home video, which meant I saw it uncut, and remember it as being something of an unpleasant slow burn that seemed to delight in making the viewer wait for the hoped-for cathartic dispensing of whoop-ass onto the deserving miscreants that ruined the life of the character portrayed by the late, great Robert Forster. What is stuck in my memory about the movie that one time I watched it on video was Fred Williamson delivering a fiery speech that is cross-cut with footage of an underlit shooting range. People know. And then Joe Spinell showing up as a sleazy defense attorney. And, there was also a character that was dispatched by a shotgun blast. And they see the character go, and then they show an exterior of the building and the shotgun and in blood. I don't know if I'll ever revisit this one, but who knows? I mean, yeah. Oh, also, I noticed that Vigilante is paired with the Monster Schlocker Mausoleum, which I think I discussed last week, at the St. Francis on Market Street, which would have been quite the double bill. Going back, I think, 6 years, May 6th, 1977. And Ralph Bakshi's animated feature Wizards starts today. They killed Prince! That one scene and the pacifist wizard strolling around and making flowers bloom everywhere and anywhere are my most vivid recollections of this fever dream of an oddity. The only other Bakshi film I have seen from beginning to end, I know, is Fire and Ice, because I had the Blue Underground DVD at one point. And that was a creative collaboration with Frank Frazetta. which is just not the subject of today's post. Uh, yeah, my viewing of Wizards is so far in the past that other than the aforementioned snippets of Fritz and the Wizard Making Flowers Grow, I don't really have any other strong memories of it. So maybe I should give it another watch. What do you think? On a side note, this was an awesome double bill in San Francisco. Was it San Francisco? Yeah. Because you can see here it's on a double bill with Brian De Palma's Phantom of the Paradise, which is just awesome. Okay, we're going to shoot back 47 years, I think, to May 6th, 1924. And we have an ad for the June 1924 issue of True Story magazine, in which they hype a lurid tale of infidelity that leads to tragedy, teaching the reader how a dinner of herbs where true, pure love is better than the richest banquet paid for in sin. Yeah. Don't cheat. Don't cheat. All right, shooting forward. Let me see. I'm going to try to do math here. We're going to 62 years. 62 years to May 7th, 1982. And the sleazy slasher-esque shocker Nightmare starts today. And I saw this on a double bill with Dead and Buried at the Alameda South Shore Twin, which provided yet another memorable movie-going experience for me at that theater. Because it was unrated, and because of me being probably on the very high or very low, probably low, very borderline, or qualification for Asperger's, I could be something of a stickler for to-the-letter rule following, and I was certain that I would be forbidden from buying a ticket, as the ad said no one under 17 would be admitted due to the violent nature of the film. At that time, I think I was all of 14, and so I'm like, ooh, I'm going to get in trouble. The cops are going to come. The management's going to throw me out. No. You know what? Nobody cared. They wanted the money. The money was given. And I was allowed to join another raucous crowd. Well, I remember it as being raucous. That hooted and hollered at the explosion of silliness, sleaze, and gore that was splattered across the screen. While I enjoyed the movie, the group of friends and acquaintances I was with really didn't like it all that much. So it goes. That happens a lot. I don't know what that says about my taste in movies, other than it's unique and special. All right, we're going to go to, looks like 11 years? No, 20... 19. No. Doesn't matter. I'm going back to May 7th, 1963. So that's 19 years? No, that would be 8. I can't math. All right, people are screaming what it is. May 7th, 1963. And the early show is going to be showing Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, which is always a good time to watch, Oh, the moon is full tonight. I'm going to turn into a wolf. Yeah, you and 1,000 other guys. If you haven't seen it, see it. It's great. Abbott and Costello are always fun. And, hey, man, it's Frankenstein, Wolfman, Dracula. The only thing's missing is the mummy. But he was kind of slow, so. All right, we're going to zip forward 17 years. I got it right. May 8th, 1980. And Friday the 13th starts tomorrow. yeah, it was interesting because I think was it last week that I posted the ad for Friday the 13th Part 2, which came out in 1981, 51 weeks after Friday the 13th was released. So less than a year, they slapped it together really fast to get it out. And, yeah. But this was a surprise hit. And I will probably share this incessantly with people, but this movie created what I have come to call the Betsy Palmer rule regarding fame and pop culture imprint. Because in 1979, Betsy Palmer was kind of semi-retired. She was doing cabaret stuff, and she'd had a TV show and was like kind of like, in, she had a TV show, wholesome mom, thing. So, but she found herself in need of some cash to replace her old and busted car with hopefully a brand new used car. And as luck would have it, her agent had received a script for a horror movie that offered her a few days' work that would cover the cost of her getting a brand new used car. After taxes and everything, she'd have plenty to buy that car. So Palmer read the script, deemed it a piece of shit, but took the job because, one, she really needed to get that brand new used car, and two, she believed that no one outside of a few 42nd Street grindhouses and some, low rent drive-ins across the South would see the damn thing. Only 1 year later, Paramount Pictures released Friday the 13th on well over 1,000 screens across the United States with a saturated market advertising. The movie was a huge success, grossing I think like 40 mil on a $300,000 budget, or $400,000 budget. It's kind of like waffles. And the success of the film would eclipse and extinguish the wholesome aspects of her career. And to everyone my age and younger, she's known as Jason's mom. Short version of the rule: the crap jobs you take for a paycheck will most likely be what you will be best remembered for. We're going to shoot back 52 years, it looks, to our final stop, which is an ad for the June 1928 issue of True Story magazine, which offers the story of a popular actress on Broadway that dreads the arrival of a man that, when he arrives, she knows will bring an end to her career as a star. This is her story of what happened when that man arrived and sent her a note. Also, there are plenty more stories from real life that you can't forget to read after you finish Trapped by My Past. But you know where? We're not trapped in the past. The Wayback Machine has returned to the here and now, and you can safely depart the machine. Just make sure you take your stuff with you, because if you leave anything, it's going to be added to my collection. So it goes. And there we have it. One more pile of stuff packed and stacked, which means it's time for me to get started on next week. And that's the segue. Next week, I've already mentioned this in the previous one. The next book on deck looks to be Fire Ice by Clive Cussler. The late Clive Cussler and Paul Kimprekos. It's the third in the Pneumophile series, a Kurt Austin adventure, and looking forward to that. It'll probably be cheesy fun. Also, as I said, I'm probably going to be watching The 5 Days, or I might watch Ferret Vampire, or I might watch Castle of Blood. I don't know yet. I'm going to be watching stuff, and having done a page to screen review and a screen to page review, I don't know what my next review will be. I usually don't know until I get there. So that's it. That's my vague plans for next week. the stuff I've done last week, and that's it. So this is where I bid you farewell. And until next time, let's all try have some. Until next time, let's all try to speak eloquently and have some fun. Bye.